Hello and welcome to the next segment of Council District Highlights. I'm your host, Vince Higgins, PIO for the Council, and today we have the illustrious first-time Councilor, Councilor Dan Champine. Welcome, Councilor. How are you today?
I'm well. How are you?
All right.
Thanks for having me.
So you're a freshman Councilor.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
How did you come to this decision, Councilor, to become one?
It was pretty easy, actually. It wasn't easy. It was, I did 22 years with APD in a plethora of roles between field services. I was in admin for a year. I was vice president of our union for a little while. And then I went on to become a detective and finish up my career with air support, flying in both the airplane and the helicopter. And after about 22 years, I decided I was missing some family life. My son was getting older. Going into middle school and high school, and said, I'm done. I'm going to retire. I've accomplished my goal. And so went and found a place to live that I'd never lived in this part of the city. I've lived in Taylor Ranch and Ridgecrest, Wyoming and Central area when I was going to Highland. And luckily had done some overtime up in Glenwood Hills and said, this is where I want to retire. I've never lived in the foothills. So my wife and I found a house, moved in. A couple months later, found a job, as a mortgage lender for Bank of Albuquerque, and retired. That lasted all of about, I think, 7 months.
So here you are.
That lasted all of 7 months when I was approached and said, hey, with your history, with your, with you being you, your personality, your outgoing, and the training and everything with APD, you would be great for city council. The current councilor at the time, Trudy Jones, wasn't going to run again. And so I asked my wife. She gave me the blessing, and we went forth, and luckily I, put in the time, knocked on close to 12,000 doors, and luckily conned enough people into voting for me, and I won. So here I am. Yeah. Well,
apparently they were happy to have you.
Yeah.
And as we see, you've already started running. There's a number of measures. One of the first measures you did, I remember, was to get this Airbus for the department.
The helicopter. And that comes into the history of where I finished up. The air support unit, which is crucial for a metro area, a city area, that helicopter represents probably 7 to 8 officers on the ground. And I say this from experience, and even the airplane. To be able to see from 1,000 to 1,500 feet up of the intricacies and how a call or a situation develops, and so that you can be a supervisor in a sense and start guiding appropriate resources to where they need, as well as assisting officers a lot of times of safety issues. If you're in a search for somebody, an offender or so, I'm watching that offender, and officers can't see it in a sense. Because they're doing their search, I can warn them, hey, he's right here, she's right behind that door or that gate, or they're now leaping over backyard walls.
So you can give real-time telemetry from that high.
Massively.
So it's a force multiplier.
Yes.
Basically,
huge.
You're increasing the ability of those officers to be effective in their job.
Yeah, and catching people that are running a lot faster. So seeing that, we had a helicopter that was a Eurocopter that was purchased in 2001, and was just racking up the hours on it. It had a lot of limitations for the altitude and the temperature for Albuquerque. Sea level, it would work great. Here, you were literally limited on some days when it was 100 degrees out to 20 minutes of flight.
Wow.
So based on the weight, the temperature, the altitude here, which basically is no help to the officers on the ground. And when they're chasing somebody, and they're asking for air support, and we can't do anything.
Right.
So 2020, we actually purchased a new one, an H-125, an Airbus. Awesome platform, newer technology. We were able to fly. And this was crucial, too, because this was it was like the Crown Vic of helicopters. Everybody was using them. It is the workhorse of helicopters for police departments, but it allowed us some higher altitude because the technology was newer. So the camera, which is close to, I think, $2 million for that camera, can not only see infrared, can see heat. I almost did a faux pas and said heat signatures because there's no such thing as a heat signature.
You're speaking of Ford.
But yes.
Ford looking infrared?
Yes,
Okay.
the FLIR. But because of the technology, we were able to fly at 1,500 feet instead of 500 feet,
I see.
which, if there's an emergency, gives us more time to react so that we don't crash
That's
in a
something
sense, or find a better safety. So safety-wise, it was huge. What it provided for the police department, search and rescue, stuff like that. I mean, we found people that are stranded on the mountains,
right.
that were calling from their cell phone and said, I can't make it down. We were able to locate them. So what I ended up doing is one of the things when I retired and I said, okay, I'm going to run for this, I knew the importance that one represented, but we're racking up, again, the hours on this because it was the one that we could use. So now having it 4 years later, they're averaging, I think they're close to 3,000 hours right now, which a lot of people don't get that with the helicopter or anything, air support sort of deal. You have maintenance that's scheduled whether it's bad or not. You don't replace your alternator. Yeah, you don't replace your alternator in your car until it breaks. No, in an air platform, you replace a part based on hours, whether it's working or it's not.
Exactly.
And so when you're racking up those hours one after another, it showed the importance of why we needed a second.
Right.
So what we were able to do is partner with the state, who was able to give us half of the money. I was able to work with, and I say I was able to work with, it was the finance guys within council that said, here, let's look for this, and found the other half.
Well,
so we're able
excellent.
to purchase this.
So you jumped in, got in with the staff, and they were able to find this money for you.
Oh yeah, those guys are great. Yeah,
So-
not that intelligent. Those,
so
yeah, I give it all to them.
Notwithstanding, we got 2 choppers now that we can use, and so
About 18 months. It takes about 18 months for them to build.
okay.
So we'll have it sometime next year. That's the one thing I'm learning about government that I forgot when I left. Is there's a process. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it takes time. So 18 months, we'll have two of the platforms, a sister one, so you can hop in and out. The technology will be similar. The setup will be similar, so there's not a confusion. We save money on parts because now we're buying parts for both that are interchangeable.
Interchangeable.
Yeah.
That's excellent. So with that heat, and I didn't know that fact about the heat having such an effect. Speaking of heat, after this segment, I want to go dive into the pool there. The Eisenhower pool.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Yes.
That's in your district.
Yes.
And it's what did you do there? That's an
Well,
old
again,
facility.
you know what I give? This was funny because we were talking about this yesterday about. I give a lot of props to Trudy Jones. She was able to. She was able to do a lot of behind the scenes work. And one of those examples is Eisenhower, where she took the time and advocated to redo the plumbing, redo the water pump, the behind the scenes thing of that pool that has been there for quite a while. So that allowed me to now moving forward to take it to that next step. Now we can come in and put in more tables, put in more benches, put in more shade, paint, update the inside. They're still using floor. Well, they're not using it, but they have baseboard heating that's sitting around. It's obsolete. It's not being used. But it's still there. Kind of liven it up, bring it up to a more modern time. One of the ideas that was brought forth is a splash pad. So I want to see. We're working with state to see about funding because everything costs a lot of money to enhance it. So I'm very thankful that she was able to build that foundation a lot with the District 8 Foundation, libraries, fire station, Bear Canyon Senior Center. They worked so hard to get them a new kitchen, state-of-the-art industrial kitchen that they are serving food for seniors all day long, which is awesome. And now I can, okay, what can we do to improve on what she did? And it goes to the same thing of when I'm finished. Whenever I'm done in this role, I want to make it that much easier for the next person so they can go, Dan did this, and it allowed us to go here. So
speaks to turnover.
Oh, yeah.
Being cooperative.
Yeah, leave it better than you found it.
Leave it better than you found it. So let's talk about Montgomery. You're doing some work on Montgomery.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Again, and because I'm so new at this, it's 6 months, 7 months into this, that a lot of this work was already set forth. Just like the helicopter takes 18 months to get here, this work was set forth by Trudy. She was able to acquisition $1 million to go toward road improvement. Now. That was one of the things that I found when I was campaigning was a big issue. of what I believed and what I listened to the constituents of what government services should do. And that is provide your services, your police, your fire, safety, roads, sidewalks, stuff like that, making sure the sidewalks within District 8 are ADA compliant. And we're about 80% there. We still have some work to be done to get them all done. But one of those things was she was able to acquisition some money to set forth. Now, when I was told it was $1 million, I'm like, we're redoing this whole street. And as it turns out, when I sit down with them and they go, okay, this is what your $1 million can buy.
Yeah.
So that started the process of, okay, where is it needed? Montgomery is traveled extensively by everybody. You know, San Mateo and Montgomery is the busiest intersection in the state. So you travel up Montgomery as you're going and realize that because of the amount that was traveled on it, because of the traffic, it wears it down quickly. So instead of just putting on another layer, this $1 million is going to go to a complete teardown from Eubank to Morris, and then do both sides, east and west. So we're going to have a new road up there. That then allows me the opportunity, okay, let's go back to the state, or let's start looking to the state funds, city funds, and expand on that. Let's continue on to Wantabo, because we found that it's needed, it's time. So
you're kicking it, and you're going to push it down the road. We're going to the entire stretch of Montgomery.
Yeah, and every year just have a new project. Every year, what's a new road? Well, you know, I'm going east and west this year. Let's see if we go north-south next year of Eubank or Academy, Wyoming. That intersection's, you know, seen its better days. And again, as much as the citizens are like, I hate construction and the orange barrels, but, you know, if we continue and keep going, then we can just start that process. And it's a little easier. So every year is one more done, and then rotate back after a while. And yeah.
Right. So more roads improvement, more infrastructure improvement. Yeah. What else are you working on for your district that you want to tell the people about today?
Well, I think we covered a lot of it. We've got the pool, we've got the roads, sidewalks, obviously, speeding, you know, Montgomery tramways in that area. So we're trying to figure out how we can get and reduce the speeders. When I was back in the day, when I was a little bit younger, we did the Montgomery TAC plan. You know, so you had officers present. They've implemented a lot of speed cameras and such on that area. We're working with the state to figure out the logistics of possibly putting them on tramway to kind of cut down on speeding there. But the cameras and the technology isn't going to take away from an officer's presence.
Exactly.
When you see that officer in the
That's
unit,
a deterrent.
It is a deterrent, not only for speeders, but for other forms of crime as well. You know, car burglars, stuff like that. You know,
we often used to say that those people complain about the tag readers, but the tag readers have caught a lot of criminals.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So that's
great.
great.
And having that around,
leveraging that technology could impact the crime rate. That's it.
It can. It might also, you know, generate a little bit of revenue that we're able to provide some overtime for officers to come in and actually do a Montgomery TAC plan again, and make that presence known. You know, so slowly but surely we'll start tackling a little, you know, chipping away a little bit at a time and get this place back under control.
And you must settle a bet for me there, Councilor.
Okay.
My wife insists that you have a clone because we went out on National Night Out.
Yeah.
And she said you were everywhere. How did you?
I wasn't everywhere. It seemed like it, but yeah. No, that was a neat thing. National Night Out. I was invited to a lot of places, and I know there's different philosophies of counselors and people wanting to be everywhere all at once. I was trying to be a little different. I wanted to stay 30 to 45 minutes at each one, so I was at, I believe, 5 different places, and time to meet with people. I'm a chatter, so we can go on, and I'll talk all night long.
Well, that's great. That leaves us a lot of room to cover as you continue your efforts in the district.
Yeah.
And thank you for being with us today.
I appreciate
Taking time out of your busy schedule. Yeah. And thank you for watching us. Stay tuned for our next episode of Council District Highlights.